Grand Rising family. How's everyone doing? Taking a moment to just be with the in-breath and the out-breath. Being here now. I wanted to take a moment to discuss Andaras. Okay, I've been getting a lot of questions about Andaras, and so I wanted to just create a brief video in conjunction with, in coordination with the Andaras, to discuss a little bit more about them. Just a little brief rundown of what an Andara is. Many people see them, right? And they're like, what is it? What about them? Something very intriguing about the connection point and the remembrance, especially when it comes to their color. They come in all different shades and colors, different hues, different rays that we work with. And so there's a lot of misconceptions, and I mentioned this actually in an earlier video. This one's actually pink, but it's showing up because of the lighting right now. It's almost showing up clear, or almost a rose gold. But many people will ask me, what are they? What are they? To be very brief, because there's so much that encapsulates the Andara. When it comes to the connection points, the discovery of them, the science, what are they made of? There's a lot of misconception. There's a lot of old narratives that get discussed, and I actually have another video that is posted here on this page, and it's a message from the Andarians regarding unified timelines. And so, if you want to access that, I have that in an earlier video, message from the Andarian Collective. And so you could go there to go more into the discussion of the glass and the Ethereum side of things. So to be very scientifically, okay, so in science terms, they are called monoatomic obsidian. And essentially, they are a volcanic glass, so to say. But we really, when it comes to societal's view of glass, it has really been, so what's coming through is there's a difference between dormant glass and active glass for us that are consciously working with the Andaras. Okay, so I don't want to, and they're even saying it right now, don't call us glass, because they're not. What they are is they are an active, this is really cool, they are an active participant in our ascension journey that work with our light body and our DNA to restructure our physical lives in accordance to that of the Andarian, right? So the Andarian essentially is a crystalline being of light that comes in many different shapes, forms, sizes, hues, rays, all of them working with us to obtain greater level of mastery in our own lives. Okay. So what does that entail? Well, they are active. So when I state active participants in our ascension journey, as we evolve and we are growing and expanding in our journey, so do they as well. So consciously, they work and shift at a multi-dimensional level as we do and as we work with them. So they are an ever-growing, evergreen, ever-expanding form that works with us. Now, this might seem a little strange to some people, right? Because they're like, how can an Andara grow, right? We see fixed, almost fixed states, right? So how can this that is already formed expand? Well, we're speaking on levels of consciousness, multidimensionality, light codes, and working with the quantum field. Okay, so, but they do. They will, we see them transform colors a lot depending upon the light rays that we're working with them. We see them change shape. We see so much that evolves through them. With active participants in our consciousness, right, they will provide for us what we need for our own planetary evolution as well as personal evolution. So when it comes to a direct connection link with our Andara, first off, it meets us where we're at, and it's always going to assist us in evolving and expanding. So what does that mean for us, right? When it comes to lessons, okay, they are essentially, you can think of them as a physical light guide, a physical teacher that shows up in our reality and assists us with whatever we need in our pathway of ascension, growth, expansion, healing, whatever, DNA repair. To go very simply, when a lot of us wake up, and this was in the Andarian message video, when it comes to our connection point with the crystalline kingdom, okay, a lot of crystals such as quartz and other valuable crystalline components that I would say are non-Andarians tend to work with more of our carbon-based body to wake us up. The Andarians tend to work with more of our crystalline body or our silica-based matrix systems to evolve past the point of the carbon-based structures, and they also work with us directly with our light body and our chakra system. Okay, someone, and I'm going to mention the chakra system really quick regarding the Andaras. Someone mentioned the other day on a Facebook post that I posted that they don't believe crystals open up chakras, which is fine. The thing is that with the Andaras, they're going to meet you at your belief system, and they're going to assist you in shifting beyond that. I have found great work with them working directly with our energetic systems in reboots, rewiring, opening up, clearing, whatever our chakra system needs. Because once again, they are also travel points or corridors for beings to come through and to work with us. So some of them, not some of them, I'll say all of them can work as windows, right? Windows of opportunity to allow us to connect deeper with the elemental realms, with our galactics, with the masters, with whatever form or structure wants to work through the Andara. And so many people will think, oh no, a portal, anything can walk through. Well, so in one level, in one essence, that's true, and I've seen people run into this. But when we are not working in a fear-based system, or we're working outside of the fear-based matrix, we are actually connecting to a higher light crystalline form of everything. And as a result, that's what shows up for us. So what we find with many people is that they get drawn to a certain color of Andara because that color, hue, ray, or tone, or whatever travel point or corridor that is created through that Andara is necessary and needed for that individual at the time. Okay, so I see some people that what will happen is they purchase a bunch of them, or sometimes they even get gifted them and don't even know they have an Andara, right? This is something that's occurring a lot. I'm finding a lot of people that have Andaras and don't know they do. Because once again, it really is about becoming a frequency match or a vibrational match to that crystalline form in order for it to activate your dormant aspects, your dormant DNA, and to bring that online. And a lot of people just assume that they're just a piece of glass or just a normal crystal, but there is something really special about it, okay? And I don't want to, because they're even saying now, don't pedestal us, right? Don't put us on a pedestal or separate us from the other crystalline kingdom, because the power and the magic of the crystals is, even though we see it as within the crystal, it's actually the power that lays dormant within us, and that crystal acts as a communication point of remembrance within us of an aspect or a time or so on and so forth. Like for me, I still work with Lemurian quartz. And this is a Lemurian quartz that my friend Dorothy gave me in a necklace. And so even though I do work a lot with Andaras, like there's a really deep resonance with Lemurian seed quartz for me, because there's a remembrance point of Mu in my own life that it works with. So it's working directly in coordination with my Lemurian aspects to help awaken and to remember my Lemurian gifts. So it might not be my Lemurian timelines per se, but it helps me to work with my Lemurian gifts. So Andaras will do the same. We've found that there are some that will connect more with a Mu-based Lemurian-based aspect, and some that work in coordination directly with an Atlantean aspect as well. So let's go beyond the timeline and beyond the storyline, because there's so much more than that. But we can also, we're seeing that depending upon where the Andarian is seated and where it is found all across the world, they will carry a resonance or a frequency that we are currently working on unifying that will speak to us in that timeline or fashion to move through it in the remembrance piece or in dismantling the distorted aspects of that timeline. So Andaras really help us to access more of that feeling state. Okay, so since they are so we're going to go here now, as there's so many threads kind of coming up in regards to what an Andara is. Andaras, we find, don't need a lot of cleansing or recharging, okay? So many of us will find, okay, I get a crystal. So for instance, with quartz, we find that quartz and other crystals can begin to hold energy of ourselves within it, and we also find we need to clear them and charge them a lot. So same is true, okay, for the Andara, but we're seeing it in a different framework and in a higher light narrative. What they need is self-love and care. Okay, so while when we get an Andara crystal, let's talk about what happens when we get an Andara crystal. So we get an Andara. What usually happens is the connection point is made far before the Andara ever arrives in our hands. Okay, just like anything in this world. So when we start to connect with our soulmates that are the Andarians, okay, we tend to get visions or feelings that one is coming into our life far beyond time and space, right? The connection point is made far before it is ever materialized in the physical form. So what does that mean? Dream state, right? There might be a certain color or a certain hue or a certain bandwidth that starts to show up in your reality to let you know that there's an arrival of a new friend. And I've seen this happen where people are like, oh my gosh, I have a soulmate coming in, or like I have a new partner coming in, and they're believing that there's this a human form that's stepping into their lives, and then they end up connecting with their Andara, right, or another Andara, and they recognize that the soulmate or the partner that's coming forward for them is actually just an Andara, you know. So we do see them, us that are stewards of the Andara realms, see them as soulmates and see them as partners, because they do communicate to us, they work with us, and they really are about reciprocity. So when you are purchasing an Andara, what will happen is it begins to work with you far before, at a quantum level and a multidimensional level, it begins working with you before it ever materializes into your form. Okay, so before it materializes and lands in your own home or in your shipping container, or before you find it out at the store, it's going to start working with you and start calling you home. And then we then begin to restructure our lives to allow that Andara to make its way into our life. Once it arrives in our hands and it gets within our field. So we discuss, I've seen people talk about, like, what is the field expansion of an Andara? You know, how big is their field? Some people say, I think it's like 8 to 50 feet, I've heard, is that as long as they are between 8 feet to 50 feet in your field, they're working directly with your field. I don't want to go with measurement here about how close or how far away they need to be, because the Andaras will intuitively communicate that to you, whether it's a vocalization, whether they're actually saying where they need to be, or you just get this intuitive feeling of where they need to be. But once it lands in your field, it begins to work with your field, and you begin to go through a process of merging with your Andara. So just like when you meet a partner for the first time. Okay, so let's think everything has a toroidal field, right? So if we think of, we have a torus, and the crystalline kingdom as well has a toroidal field. Once it enters, we begin a process of merging fields, and the activation sequence begins. So the Andara comes in, and it begins to work with us at a multidimensional level, a physical level, works with our light body, our DNA, our chakra system, whatever we want to call it, and whatever we need in order to activate the remembrance piece of that Andara. So we see the same thing occurring with all crystals that we purchase, right? So when we adopt a quartz, or we adopt tourmaline, or we adopt lapis lazuli, or whatever other crystalline form, we have a connection point of remembrance. But I find for me that with a lot of other crystals, there's a point of, after the activation, that there's no evolution beyond the activation and the remembrance piece of that crystal. that's just me. The thing is that with Andaras, we find them evolve with us dependent upon what our needs are for our growth and our journey, just as long as we create that conscious communication link with the Andaras continually. So I was discussing charging, right? Many people do full moon charging. They'll do other forms of charging like on selenite with the Andaras. Not with the Andaras, with other crystals. So we can do the same thing with Andaras, but for me, I find that they just need a lot of self-care and self-love. So connecting with them directly, holding them, sending them love. They love music. So if you can turn on, 432 hertz, binaural beats, Beethoven, they're saying Chopin right now, any sort of like classical music or any music that uplifts your soul and inspires, it's going to assist in charging them. They love baths, right? So giving them a nice water bath. The one thing is they do like soap, but when we work with soaps with Andaras, I work with all natural soaps. So I use plant-based soaps. Like this is 7th generation that I use. It's powered by plants. They approved this one because I asked the Andaras what they need, and they approved 7th generation to work with. And there's no scents on that one, but it just helps to polish them up and keep them nice. They also love oils, and they will guide you to what oils they need. So for me, with an anointing oil that I use for all my Andaras, I use Kate's Magic. And this is Isis and Rebirth. It's a vanilla rose blend, and they absolutely love this stuff. They will also call in different elemental mixtures. So sometimes they need a little bit more fire, a little bit more water, a little bit more air, a little bit more earth when it comes to the kind of oils that they need, depending upon what we are working with them. And they communicate that to me. And this is why it's important for us to build our communication links with our Andaras in however way, shape, or form they're going to communicate to us, whether it's through clear feeling, clear sensing, clear knowing, clear audience, clear hearing, clear salience even, clear taste, clairvoyancy. They're going to work with you and meet you where you're at with your abilities to intuitively send the message of what you need. We also work with them a lot with gate systems, right? So we can connect them to stargates. We can connect them to portals. We can also connect them to the crystalline grid on planet Earth. A lot of grid keepers and grid workers work with the Andaras because them being able to hold the crystalline grid and the plasma grids within them has been very beneficial on our journey. They also, too, since they are multidimensional masters, we find that a lot of people that are in their introduction work of grid keeping or grid working use Andaras as another tool or representation of the work and expression that they do directly with Mother Earth. So the thing is that for many people that begin to wake up and to the fact that they are grid keepers, or they can work with land, or they can work with water systems, as they are learning and evolving, I see many people get Andaras to just bring out a set, connect them to a grid, and they will work and connect with the other Andaras that are actively grid keeping, which all of them are. They're even saying right now, we are all active grid keepers. So all of the Andaras, whether dormant or non-active, are all holding the crystalline and plasma grids in place here on planet Earth. And so when we connect with them as grid keepers and grid workers and work with them and bring them to our sites, or work with the trees, or work with the elementals, work with the waterways, the aquifers, they will directly coincide with the other grid workers and grid keepers to assist in anchoring and in amplifying those grids. So sorry about that. I had to get Kitty in. So when it comes to us with working the grids with the Andaras, they're really helpful in that department, because we literally can just bring a set with us to our local site, set them up in our backyard, set them up in our home, and they will assist in amplifying the crystalline grids through our home. Since we are all crystalline grid keepers of New Earth within our own physical form, it just helps as another level of amplification and work in coordination directly with the grids as we are working on building this companionship and elevating and responding to our work in a different way. And it's not even work, right? It's not service. It's really fun doing what we do. So I'm still trying to find another word for work, but they help us with our play. Let's put it that way. They're also really good travel companions. So for me, being living currently a nomadic lifestyle and doing a lot of grid keeping and ceremonial work across the United States here, they've been really excellent in maintaining a high vibrational state in regards to different densities and collective experiences that we have. So if anyone who's energy sensitive or has done work has been nomadic, we can begin to see that every site, town, or collective that we step into holds a different vibrational bandwidth in correspondence to wherever they're at on their journey. So we can find that we can land in cities at times that are a little bit denser than other cities, or if we're on vacation, for instance, right? We can find that we see that wobble if we don't know currently our mastery in our own vibrational state, but also we're responding a lot more to the collective, or responding a lot more to various sites of various towns. The Andaras are great travel companions in that, where they assist us in shifting out and in elevating our own vibration. So then we can hone in the mastery of our field and our own I am presence to begin assisting us in more of a smoother transition in between moves, or weaving in and out of different collectives. So for me, that's why it was imperative to have Andaras in the RV and to have a lot of them. First off is the level of work. They help me to maintain a high vibrational state. And also when I have all of them inside of my home, and I set up the grid in the home with them, I find that there's greater ease in creation point. There's greater ease in maintaining a solid, they want to say solid vibration that is grounded in the 5D and higher trajectories. So they've been extremely helpful in that department. So how do we pick a color of an Andara? There's so many colors, right? It's endless. How do we pick a color? It will call forward to you however it's supposed to. So many people will get their visions in dream state. They'll just feel called to a certain color. And you might even get called to multiple colors at once. Well, there's various ray groups that will show up in our spectrum based upon what we need at that point in time for our own evolutionary cycle that we are in, or the pathway that we are currently walking in. Okay. So I find that there are many that will begin to purchase all these different colors, yet only one of them at a time will speak to them. Well, why is that? Why does that occur? The Andaras are always going to meet you where you're at. And so for me, having an eclectic mixture of different Andaras, some of them will speak to me at different times based upon what I need. Okay. So I've got some that have a little bit more of a softer energy, like this set that's actually going out right now. It's currently on hold for a friend. It's got a little bit more of a softer tone. And so this one will work a little bit more with softening the energies. Even this one here, if I don't have good enough light to show, but this one's kind of a multicolored, more of an aura, angelic aura presence that shifts and changes colors. Those softer tones will help us to activate more of that soft remembrance. But then we have some that have harder tones, right? Like I've got this Lemurian Gold, and it's almost like a root beer brown. And it speaks to me in a certain way in regards to the color of gold that it represents. And then we have some that are a little bit just more clear, right? But I will state this. They will brighten up and change colors dependent upon what their needs are. So you can see with a what I would call a dormant, or it needs to be recharged, or needs to be taken care of, right? So I don't want to say recharged because they're always charged. They always hold a conscious charge. But you will notice that they might lose a little bit of their glow as they go offline. And we can bring them back online by just showing them some love, by taking care of them, giving them a nice bath, sending them some love, and we'll notice that their colors and hues will shift, or they'll begin to sparkle a lot more. So with that too is that they do love being out in the sun. So they're saying sun to me now, sun. And as we're talking about this, the sun is starting to shine a lot more. Is that we find that that they will also, a lot of their charging, recharging. While many use other crystals in the moonlight, I find that they really love sunlight. They really love snow too. So if you are in a winter climate, they love working with snow, because snow is a crystallization pattern. Think of the crystal patterning of a snowflake. They really love working with the organic crystalline elements and in that expression. So they love water, they love earth, they love sun, they love air, they love snow. Especially when it comes to big plasma corridors, they love to work with alchemy with the elements. And so you can even see now I've started to hold this one a little bit, and it's now starting to shine a little bit more. This is because the Andaras are truly about reciprocity. When what we give to them, they give back to us. And us that are stewards for the Andaras and work with them directly, the more love we show them, the more they assist us at a multidimensional level. And they are a great teaching point in reciprocity and balance in relationships. The Andaras have taught me how to let go, right? They've taught me how to allow everything to be what it is. They've taught me freedom. And they've taught me a lot of wonderful lessons on my journey. And I'm not going to go into that right now because we're actually working on having a video discussion with my beautiful friend Julie regarding teachings of the Andaras and her own experience with the Andaras, and a little bit of a play share with the Andara realm. So briefly, there's so much that can unpack when we ask what an Andara is, right? And so we have to look beyond the human scientific level, which there's a lot of different information and articles regarding Ethereum and science and so many things like this. But we find that when it comes to people that are trying to figure out what the Andara is at a scientific level, there's not a lot to be discussed. And a lot of people will say there's nothing to them, right? Because we see that there are different crystalline components that are active in things like quartz, things in different other crystals that we can break down scientifically. And that gives proof that it's made up of all these different crystalline structures that create this makeup. When they run tests on Andaras, right, there's a lot like, oh, there's nothing to them. Well, that's because that is to the human mind, right? So when we peek beyond the veil and go into the energetic expression and the light codes that are expressed beyond science, right? So, not measurable, not tangible. We're going quantum here. We're not speaking at from a place of Newtonian science, but we're speaking here of the quantum realms and the feeling states and the bliss that they activate within us. There is so much to them. They're constantly transmitting light codes, right? They're constantly evolving and expanding with us. And that's what I love about Andaras. They are evergreen. And we find that when an Andara is ready to work out of our field, it will either get called back to the elements. So I've had many that I've held that I've loved where they're like, we want to go to the ocean and it's time to drop that in the ocean, or it's time to gift it to someone else. The thing is that the light and the play and the share of the Andaras needs to be shared, right? Their expression is not about coveting, and their expression is not about holding on to. They love to be shared. So whether it's taking pictures of, showing other people, taking out into public and playing with them out in public, that is what they're all about. And they will work with us at a greater level to embody that, right? They assist us in being able to share our light more. They also assist us a lot with creativity, right? They give us insight. They give us downloads. They can help us being able to receive. They can help us to create, right? I don't like the word manifesting, but that's kind of what was coming forward, is they can help us to manifest. Basically, they can do anything, right? And they're really good with healing work too. So if you are a practitioner, they assist us in holding space for sacred ceremony. They assist us with working directly with people's chakras, with connecting people to their crystalline nature. There's so much to them. So I wanted to give you guys a brief rundown of what an Andara is, even though this video probably went over 28 minutes. There's so much to them. And think of it like this. All the information in this video is not the only information, right? Because everyone has embodied their own sacred practice with the Andaras, and they have their own belief system with the Andaras, right? But to keep it very simple, Andaras assist us in activating a feeling state of remembrance within us to remember and to embody our true crystalline and Andarian nature. Okay. They are not going to work with the mind. They will, to a certain level, but what they're assisting us with working us is higher mind consciousness, and they're assisting us in activating, opening up our heart, and in elevating our consciousness. So if you see mind as a part of that consciousness realm, which it is as far as the free-form thought or the expression, okay, they will work with us there. But they really do assist us in remembering our true Andarian nature, and in remembering that all the wisdom and the light and the beauty that they hold within themselves is actually within us, right? And that we are actually living, breathing, walking Andarians. And that's what they want us to remember, is that we are the Andara crystals. So while they are a conduit, so are we, right? All of the crystalline beauty and mastery they hold, we hold within us. And so they are definitely ones to give us our power back in that nature of the remembrance that we have a crystalline form, right? We have a crystalline nature. We have a crystalline expression. We are the living light code keepers. We are constantly transmitting and receiving data, right? At a quantum multidimensional level. And that's what they want us to remind us of. So they're here as a point of remembrance, just like any crystal is. But a lot of people will attach to the crystal as a tool, you know, or as a crutch for their healing journey, when actually all the power they hold is within us. They're just there to assist us in remembering that. And they're also going to assist us as acting as a doorway or a bridge in consciousness for us to be able to access the higher realms and to connect higher or to connect deeper, depending upon the perspective that we hold. Okay. So there we go. An introduction. What is an Andara? And there's so much more than that, right? This is just scratching the surface. And as we discover more of their abilities and the components that make up their sacred geometry, right? That make up their beauty, that make up their light code, that make up their radiance, that make up their humanity, we're going to discover that more within ourselves. So I love you guys. All right. Much love and respect to everyone out there. I love you all unconditionally. And with that, me and the Andaras are going to go play.